Now, your ABC 7 First Alert weather forecast with meteorologist John Scalzi.
We have a 76-degree air temperature and a dew point pretty close to it. In fact, exactly at the same value, 76 degrees, giving us 100% relative humidity, and the east wind continues to blow. That east wind indicative of a big ridge of high pressure that sits out in the Atlantic and really provides the weather pattern for us right straight through the next 4 or 5 days, most likely. Only a slight little chance at a shower today. You'll see some high, thin clouds around. Don't worry about them. They are not rain producers. We will see the clouds begin to thicken, build, and lower as we head into the 12 noon hour there in Hardee, DeSoto counties. You might see an isolated shower or two build there. Then as we head into the 3 p.m., 4, 5, 6 o'clock hours, we'll see how those showers gradually drift closer to the coast and blossom into thunderstorms, just like we have seen over the last several days. Gordon continues to lift north, again weakening consistently as it moves over land, heading up toward Jackson, Mississippi. It never made it to hurricane status, but came close with 70-mile-an-hour winds as it made it on shore in the northern Gulf Coast. We are left with a big ridge of high pressure that sits over the Atlantic, providing us that easterly wind flow and giving us a few showers later in the day. But right now, we don't have anything ongoing. Quiet for your morning commute, both in inland areas and near the coast. So we'll watch this big ridge of high pressure be a dominant weather player in our forecast over the course of the next 5 days and maybe beyond. Talk about that in a second. East wind will continue to blow. Gordon will continue to lift away. High pressure will then be allowed to build in, reinforcing the easterly wind flow, leading to quiet mornings, followed by a little bit better chances of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon as our sea breeze front meets up with that general easterly wind. So, good chances for afternoon storms for the next several days. Dry mornings right straight into the weekend. Then we watch the tropics. We are far from done with this hurricane season. Gordon, really not a problem for us any longer, will lift northward, become probably extratropical or a remnant low by later today or tomorrow, and then turn off toward the northeast as a frontal boundary picks it up. What calls our attention are two systems back out in the far Atlantic. One, of course, Florence. We've been watching that for a while. A hurricane still. Intensity forecasts difficult. The Hurricane Center admits that. And what happens down the road with that storm? Still up in the air. We'll watch for its forecast in just a second here, but we also want to call your attention to a tropical wave coming off the coast of Africa. It'll probably be one of several that'll come off that coast. This particular one, given a 90% chance of developing over 5 days, it'll probably be called Helene if it develops, unless another one develops first, which is unlikely. Florence, a Category 2 storm, 105-mile-an-hour winds, tracks to the west-northwest, then eventually becomes more westerly in its direction, then northerly, then thereafter, big questions. Models have now started to kind of flip-flop a little bit on whether it lifts back out into the open waters of the Atlantic or takes a more westerly turn. We'll watch and see next week very carefully what happens with this system and what its intensity will be and whether or not it will affect the mid part of the United States, mid-Atlantic or maybe the northeastern United States. Here's a computer model that shows this tropical wave coming off the coast of Africa heading westward, and another one back behind it, perhaps steering off into the open waters of the Atlantic because of this building high-pressure ridge over here that directs it. But look what happens with Florence. It continues to drift westward, and then this computer model does indeed affect the mid-Atlantic. Now, this is way down the road next Saturday, not this Saturday, the Saturday after that, and there are large errors possible in the forecast. But it bears watching, and that's what we'll be doing all next week, watching those two systems. East wind comes in at about 10 knots. That brings us a light chop, 2-foot seas, and the forecast for the week ahead looks pretty typical for this time of year. 92 today and tomorrow, 60% chance of rain. Friday the same. Over the weekend, at least one of the days will feature that 60% chance, but perhaps on Sunday some drier air will reduce rain chance a little bit. We'll stay with that slightly reduced rain chance into Monday, but then start to trend things back up again on Tuesday as we pay special attention to the tropics at that time.